that thing I mentioned at the end of part 1 about part 2, it's about to kick in now. So enjoy. Meet Paddy and James. I'm a bit more of an out of dead excited. E3 soon. Yes. Cartoony and fun, Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Last year, lots of promises, but you've got to look at the year that system's had and the company's had, and you've got to take your hat off to them. That's incredible. So the first of the rumours was Star Fox Racing by Retro Studios, allegedly leaked by Eurogamer, but apparently there's a Star Fox Racing game somewhere. Allegedly.
I mean, obviously that means they're going to differentiate it massively from a Mario Kart style thing. Does a Star Fox Racing allow you to move in 3D space, or is it going to be more F-Zero style? I mean, F-Zero, they are almost like Wipeout style ships. I don't know. And we've got another Sonic racing game on the way as well. It just Mario Kart 8 was really successful and it's a great game, but
have you heard about the way the Sonic racing game is going to work? Because that looks a really cool idea.
Well, Transformed was a weird, interesting way of doing it as well.
Transformed was amazing.
I'm not surprised that they're kind of mixing it up again. Keeps it different, keeps it fresh. Yeah. I'm
not crazy about losing all of the other Sega characters, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems a weird choice.
This thing with the level, that there are numerous different ways to tackle it, and different players are also on different teams, sort of trying to get to the front, and like maybe one bit would be quite straightforward and quite long. There'd be another one that might be a bit quicker but would require more skill and that sort of,
that's why I'm hearing it. It's like it's classes. So you've got your quick one, you've got your maneuver one, you've got your heavy one, and between the three of you, you kind of help each other out, or you request power-ups. You can like shout, I need something, and they can throw it back to you. So if you get a power-up in first place and you don't necessarily need it, you can throw it back
that sounds
to your teammates. Go to Kotaku. They did a really good like rundown of how it actually all works, and it sounds really different and really interesting. I think you'll dig it. I think online that game's going to be ridiculous.
I'm up for that. I'm even losing the rest of the Sega characters. Sumo are great at racing games, and this has got enough quirks to stand out. Plus, it seems to be quite a cheap price as well. It's going for about £26, which is perfect price for it, I think, as well. So
I hope they don't scrimp on the tracks for that. Like, I hope when it's a cheaper price doesn't mean we get less stuff. Like, about Transform had 15, 20 levels in it, roughly.
Well, I mean,
that was a good number.
Those levels were amazing as well.
I mean, even if you just go after Green Zone, Green Hill Zone,
Chemical
Plant Zone, different level themes around each of those would still kind of go gangbusters, and you'd have plenty of options there as well. And my little chuckle there, that's what we think of Star Fox Racing, folks.
Exactly, yeah, good call.
That's our anticipation for that game.
Metroid Prime 4 last year
title card
was so more than a logo.
Although I saw that 4 come up when people put in the word skate in front of it, so that's what we think of Metroid Prime 4.
Metroid Prime 4. I guess it's again, show something if you've got something worth showing, but don't show it for the sake of it. Nintendo have got plenty of goodwill. They don't need to be pushing stuff that's 2 years out. We know it's coming, let it breathe, would be my response.
So I tentatively written down here Pokemon Switch. But then we got the reveal last week that we got the Pikachu and Eevee, which were variations on Pokemon Yellow, and people could play 2 to 4 players at the same time, and there was Pokemon Go integration, and there was some sort of cute Pokeballs that you could take around
Pokemon
with you.
Let's Go, is it called?
You guys,
Yeah,
I'm going to get a glass of water. You guys carry on, because I know nothing about this, so...
Well, you should pay attention then, you ignorant beast.
No, but I'm so dry.
Then we'll wait.
I've heard the speculation that this is kind of it is a Pokemon RPG, but maybe slightly light, on the basis that maybe that will pull in Pokemon Go players and get them ready for fully fledged Pokemon RPG, which is maybe still a little ways out. It all sounds like speculation though, because it would be just like Nintendo to say, nope, this is your fully fledged RPG. This is the big one, you know.
I think they could. Well, on the one hand, they could show a bit more of this off here. This seems like one of the perfect titles to show in the treehouse.
Yes, absolutely.
And then just super go into detail on it. But it looks like there's a fair bit to it. And like I say, the bones of it are apparently Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah. With some
And everybody likes that game.
tweaks to random battles and stuff, which make a lot of sense, because that's the stuff that people probably aren't going to have patience for if they're not used to it. Yeah.
I think I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
I just like the look of it. It looked pretty cute, and I right now it's going to be nice to have a Pokemon game on the big telly, frankly, or small
Or on
screen
the small,
if you want
gorgeous
to
screen
wander
of
off.
the Switch.
Yeah. 3DS remakes. So there's rumours that Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds is coming, which is a stunner. There's last year's Metroid that came to 3DS.
Yeah.
That's rumoured for there.
I forget the name of it, but yes, I know the one you mean.
Also, Monster Hunter Stories, which is a game that I've wanted to play forever, because it seems to be a little bit Monster Hunter but a whole lot of Pokemon. And that was on 3DS, but it's recently had a mobile port, and the mobile port is really crisp, 60 frames per second, looks lovely, and just seems like a no-brainer to port that over to the Switch.
If they're doing that, could I also request Kid Icarus Uprising as well, please? Because that's a game that
apparently your boy from Kid Icarus is going to be part of this direct showcase thing that Nintendo are showing, so that he's got something there.
Yeah, because Uprising's a game I didn't play because the stories about claw hand control system kind of put me off, but it's got a lot of fans, and if they could port that and maybe make it a more straightforward control system, that would be something I'd be desperately interested in finally getting around to. But yeah,
I will say, thing I would love, Xenoblade Chronicles export, please. Apparently it's been it was mentioned before the Switch was launched that it's not Monolith doing the port, but it is happening. And I loved Xenoblade Chronicles X 2 pieces. It pushed a million buttons in me. Possibly the best open world that I can remember. It was just completely my bag, and I'd love it on the Switch, please. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else have I got written down here? Oh, indies. I want to see a bit of an indie showcase. Here's 5 or 10.
Given that they're doing so well on there at the minute.
I just want to see some will be stuff I've not heard of, and others will be, obviously this needs to be on Switch. 5 or 10 indie, just quick indie reel.
It's the new Vita, really, isn't it? It's the new Vita. I bought lots of games for the Vita because I love playing like Spelunky and Rogue Legacy and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Like, they're perfect for it. It's the new. It's taken over that mantle, I think, and everyone's buying games they've already played once.
If you're going somewhere, that's the console you take. Yeah, for sure. I'd like to see something Bayonetta 3. It's obviously been announced that's coming, and we've had the first 2 games ported over, but I think we could probably see something. Maybe it's probably not until next year, but I'd like Bayonetta originally was released in a January release 2010. January 2019 would be really cool if they're that far along with it.
Okay, what about, right?
Yeah.
So, here's the big question then. Here's the big Nintendo one. The big one I have been thinking about anyway. Right. Smash.
Yeah.
Right? Is Solaire in it? He has an amiibo, and they have not shown the colour of his base yet. And apparently, gold ones work in Smash.
Yes.
Is Solaire in Smash?
I tell you, who's supposed to. It's rumored is in this this new Smash is a couple of the Belmonts from Castlevania are supposed to be in it,
that makes a lot of sense.
Really, really neat.
I do wonder how much Nintendo are going to go, because there's been non-Nintendo characters in before, obviously.
Oh, Snake, Sonic,
absolutely,
loads of them.
Yeah.
Cloud, yeah.
But I wonder how much they might go after, because obviously Ubisoft did so well with Mario Cross Rabbids, so is there room for Ubisoft characters to maybe migrate over in a kind of reciprocation? That would be a nice...
Oh, it'll be a Rabbid, won't it?
Maybe a Rabbid stage or something it could be.
Or Rayman.
Yeah, Easy Allies kind of mentioned that they think it would be more a stage rather than a character.
The only issue with
Rayman would be
Rayman
good.
is Rayman's not as recognisable as a Rabbid to a lot of people who'd be playing Smash. But yeah, you could have...
Can you imagine that amiibo as well?
How do you...
Oh god, how would they do that?
But yeah, I think there's room for them to kind of blow out and really go for a lot of characters in this, especially if we don't know yet, but my suspicion is they're kind of building off the Wii U 3DS Smash. It's not going to be a port, but they're going to be building off that base, so maybe they don't have to start from scratch quite as much. So yeah, get loads of characters in it and go big on getting something for everyone. Absolutely something for everyone.
You don't think Animal Crossing or Mario Kart will be here this year?
Not Mario Kart. No.
F-Zero?
Not if they're doing Star Fox Racing. I don't see there's room for that. I'd love it. I'd love F-Zero, I really would, but that seems like the perpetual rumour that may never kind of come to fruition. But
I wonder if they'll have Dark Souls at the Treehouse.
I was wondering, I think they'll mention it. I don't think they'll spend time on it. I think they'll just say, look, Dark Souls, and then because I think that publicity cycle has kind of moved now.
Yes.
But you know how the
Treehouse,
they've got like
do they need
3 days worth of material to kind of delve into. It's
true.
You can imagine that
it's a weird
sort of
one,
occupying an hour.
It's weird because it's supposed to have happened, so do they want to draw attention to the fact it had to be pushed back, or would they just relish the
I
opportunity
don't
to
think
show
we need
it?
to mention that at
Yeah,
all.
maybe not. Or
they've obviously got their online service coming, whereby every month you get a free game, but you don't get to keep it.
Who knows?
But it's got online aspects in there, so they're obviously going to go into that and mention it.
I don't know. Are they? Is that like, because Nintendo have broken out full?
It's September, isn't it?
They've broken
So
out full directs dedicated to just a thing that's arriving, and an online seems like maybe, other than saying, here's what it is, and I guess they could go into what you get, because it's still kind of woolly as to exactly how it's all going to work, especially as it seems to be taking the place of Virtual Console, because that's still not been mentioned. Yeah, I
How many more times are you going to buy the original Mario? Nintendo are testing us.
How do you?
The answer is infinite times.
They keep the momentum with the Switch moving forward?
Well, Smash is a big deal to an awful lot of people.
Smash is a huge... I think
Smash
that's
is
the
massive.
big one that's missing so far, isn't it? I think the Metroid Prime 4 is going to help if they show something.
Apparently, is the Switch is getting that Dragon Ball Fighters.
Or Dragon Ball Fighters,
game?
or Fighters, right. That's which
is a good one to have.
is a stunningly beautiful game, and on Switch would look fantastic. So yeah, as long as they can get that running, I can't see why they wouldn't. But it's already got shaky online in terms of matchmaking and lag and stuff. So I don't know how that works with having to connect through your phone or whatever it is Nintendo are doing with getting the Switch online these days.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot.
Here's what I think they should stick on it, right? Mario Maker.
I wondered about...
Because I've been watching a lot of Game Grunts play that recently. And And I just, you kind of just settle into a video series, and before you know it, you're at episode 70. You're like, oh shit, when did that happen?
Cool.
And like I've been like I don't generally play the Mario games. I've tried them, but I'm just not very good at them. I can't get my head around the mechanics of how Mario slides and jumps and momentum. I never liked that. I just can't play them. But I do enjoy watching them, and it just kind of seems like it would be a good fit.
Oh, for sure. It was incredibly popular on a system that didn't do that well. It makes sense to port it over. I wondered about a Zelda Maker.
Perhaps
that's
possibly,
a little bit more difficult, because with Mario Maker, obviously you've got is it 4 different eras of Mario that you can kind of make the game in. That would be a heck of a lot more difficult with a Zelda, because obviously you pick out
like a map, aren't you? Yeah,
and
would
Zelda
be a dungeon,
also
I
moved
guess.
into 3D. You can't really necessarily do that, so you only stick into 2D. I guess you would have to, but
it would have to be dungeons, wouldn't it? Like,
but
really
you
do
could
Overworld,
do
could you? But
Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, all would...
Are you telling me that the Zelda 2, so the internet would make levels harder and worse than Zelda 2? Because I'm not sure that's possible.
But
that game is horse shit in places.
Given how Mario Maker worked, I think how well it did and how much buzz was around it, I think moving that over to Switch makes sense. The problem we would have is any levels that were made wouldn't move with it, I guess.
That sucks, because there's so much cool stuff on there.
You're asking...
What other concepts could they... I know that Mod Nation Racers did this, but do you reckon you could see a Mario Kart builder? Or, I don't know what you'd say for that, I suppose Mario Kart Maker? I could see that happening, I guess. I don't think it would take off as much as Mario Maker would, because, the levels are the fun bit there, whereas Mario Kart, it's all about the power-ups and the driving around. The levels are just the backdrop, really, aren't they? But I don't know, I can kind of see something like that coming out, like another idea in that concept.
Yeah.
There are lots of games as well, I think, that didn't reach their audience on the Wii U that could get much more attention on the Switch, which would obviously fill gaps between major releases on the system. And the one that I throw out there, which, Patrick, you were the person that highlighted this to me at first, and it was a sensational game, and not enough people played it, and that is Affordable Space Adventures.
Oh, yeah. That game was fun.
What a game.
That game's fun.
What a game. I mean, they've got to balance out the fact that you're not going to be able to have the engine sort of on the screen, but I'm sure you could get around that because you've got your extra sort of nunchucks controller type things on the side, and you'll be able to get around it. But that was a belter of a game, absolute belter.
Did that not also have community stuff built into it that required the Wii U? Or am I thinking of a different game?
No, I think you might be right. I thought the Miiverse was great. I don't know quite why they nixed that. I thought it was a really good idea.
Yeah. I know. Oh, CJ, I've solved it. I know how you have the engine but still have the screen. Right? Affordable Space Adventures, right? But you make the engine out of Labo.
That'd be really cool. Labo.
It's like a cardboard steel battalion controller, just like shitloads of buttons and switches, and you can't remember what each one of them does.
I'd be up for that. Labo was a really left of centre idea, though, that I don't think they've gotten enough credit for.
Do you think we'll see more Labos?
Really intricate.
We'll see more Labos.
Really cool idea.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a tremendous idea. N64 Mini.
That's an absolute given. And apparently they're going to be re-releasing the NES Mini as well, getting more units out there.
This is taking the place of the Virtual Console, isn't it?
Yeah, which is weird because you get like 20 games, but you don't get 100 games. And I can stick 100 games on my Raspberry Pi. I'd rather have a way of playing them on Switch, which would be cool. But that
it's nice to be legit, but the Raspberry Pi is just so much easier.
Yeah.
And so much more
too legit to quit.
It's so flexible.
Well, it is if you're paying £100 on eBay for something that has 20 games on it. When I don't know.
That, let's be fair, you've probably played a couple of times before.
Yeah. Yeah, N64 Mini seems like a no-brainer. It's going to be an absolute smash hit again. But
like you couldn't put like the Rare games are all tied up on the Xbox One now, aren't they? Like they've all been. There's some weird like licensing deals going on, aren't there? So like, would you be able to have the old like Banjo-Kazooies on the 64 now that they're in the middle of that big Rare collection? Could you even have that?
Not without licensing them from Microsoft, because they own those games now. So yeah, no.
Wasn't there the thing like a while ago where the original GoldenEye was going to come out on 360, and then there was a bit of a court case, and Microsoft would just like put it on the Wii U as well? Then we don't mind, and it just didn't get any further.
Maybe they'd be cool about it. It just seems like a stumbling block that could potentially fuck things up.
Well, seeing as they're now since then, Minecraft's been on there, and there's a decent amount of communication between the two of them, and I believe, isn't it the PC, Switch, and Xbox versions of Rocket League all can play each other?
Sony are kind of seemingly the stumbling block when it comes to cross-platform stuff, certainly.
And that's mental, because Sony were the ones that really, because they put it in Plus and it fucking exploded, didn't it? Like that's why Rocket League got. I think that's a massive part of why Rocket League got as big as it did, because they let everyone have it for nothing.
But the development team have basically gone, yeah, we just put a tick in a different box, and then everybody can play together. And I know, like Paddy and I had a conversation a while ago of just saying like, oh, wouldn't it be kind of neat if you're on Xbox and you've got some sort of Halo car and you're against somebody that's with a Mario car, somebody turns up with a Sony license on there. That's
ship. Yeah, absolutely.
I just think that's super fun. I mean, it's in Sony's interest because they're the market leaders, but I just think it'd be kind of cool, no matter which system somebody was playing on, whatever the game. Because the amount of times I've looked at a title and I've gone, well, naturally I'd like to play that on Xbox One because I prefer the Elite Pad and stuff. But which of my friends is going to be playing it, and do I then get it on PS4? It'd be nice for say if it was the equivalent of a Destiny, to be able to meet up with Pad or yourself, and
for sure.
If Pad's on PS4 and I'm on Xbox One, if they're communicating together and the systems are all right.
One big happy gaming family.
Yeah. Right, so Xbox.
Oh, hang on.
Wait, before you do.
What?
There's more. Okay, after you. You go first, James.
I was just going to say, as far as I'm expecting to see some more Yoshi. That's still coming. And as far as my tool, my kind of jokey but half serious one is, I think enough time has passed since Ravi Drums that if they did a Ravi Drums again, I think that would go down absolutely incredibly well. They're not doing a live on stage performance, so it wouldn't quite work, but I think there's an opportunity for Nintendo to kind of embrace in a fun, kitsch kind of way that bizarre side of stuff they did on the Wii and go for it a bit.
That was one of the weirdest shows I've ever seen.
For sure. They've kind of abandoned their, I think they call it quality of life stuff, which was their health program they were possibly going to roll.
The vitality sensor finger thing.
Vitality sensor, and also moving kind of a Wii Fit type thing onto Switch seems to not be happening now. But I think there's still a place for a Labo style music set of some kind. That could be cool.
100%.
I have a theory. Do you think it's because people are thick and they're worried people would stand on their Switch?
I mean, if your Joy-Con is in your drum pedal, it's getting crushed, isn't it? So
yeah.
So that's my jokey tool, but my real tool is a game that I've been waiting a year for and still hasn't arrived on Switch, which I understand why, but Hollow Knight, I want to play that game so badly, but I've been waiting for it on Switch. And I would just like to see a release date. I get why it's taken a long time. It's a very small team making it, and they obviously want to get it out on Switch as soon as possible, but I want all kinds of Hollow Knight in my face and hands.
That's a good twill.
Yeah, it looks like a good game.
I want to play that. Yeah, it looks great. It's getting the nod from a lot of Souls people as well, which is always a good sign.
Soulsy type of cute insects and weirdness. Yeah, absolutely.
My twill is not really a serious one, but I couldn't think of one because Nintendo's not really my thing. I just looked at my shelf on my GameCube thing and thought, what would I want another one of? Can I have Eternal Darkness 2, please?
Yeah.
Please? Can I just please?
That's been rumoured for a while.
It has, but it'll get stuck in Kickstarter hell, won't it? They'll make the money and it'll go away and it'll come out eventually and it'll be shite.
Because that's still Silicon Knights or what's kind of remaining. I think there is still, last I heard, Silicon Knights still had kind of an office that was keeping themselves open as an admin kind of entity, if you like. But yeah, and they've
keeping the lights
muted.
On, like how Fox released a Fantastic Four film every few years ago just to keep the license.
But yeah. So the Kickstarter that was mooted was a spiritual successor type thing rather than straight up Eternal Darkness 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember what it was called, but it was very, very similar.
Yeah. I think that was
came and went. I think.
I wonder if there are kind of licensing issues with that. I don't know if it's purely owned by Silicon Knights or whether they can act on it. But yeah,
be nice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a weird game I'd like. So before we move on to, I imagine CJ is going to rock us to the next bit, I just want to have a quick stop on the PC gaming show. Just a very quick one, because it is, I genuinely think it's a valuable part of the weekend now.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the last year's was really, really good. I was genuinely captured by the whole thing. I really enjoyed it.
It was a massive step up, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, games I wouldn't necessarily have played. I like the format where it was a bit more kind of, chatty. They were kind of doing a bit more, interviews with people on the stage and showing off a game, then another interview. They didn't sit there wanking on about graphics cards for an hour. It was way better.
It did a bit.
They didn't,
was
though.
One graphics card section.
A little bit. It was a little bit. There was one.
The previous year, yeah.
First year there were 3, and it was nah. I haven't got many predictions for the show. I know they're going to show off some more of the new Jurassic World Evolution thing, which looks kind of fun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I like the idea of making a Jurassic Park and then having it all go wrong. That sounds like a laugh. But yeah, I don't. It's very hard to predict. But CJ, Digital Extremes are going to be there.
Yeah, I heard Warframe was going to be there.
They're going to be showing off, I think, a lot of the new thing.
I didn't crazy dislike last year's. I must admit, it was a step up from what I tried to watch the year before, and at least the guy doing the presentation,
the host was actually pretty good.
What was his name? Sean 9 or something?
Don't know. There was that kind of, there was quite a cute RPG cat game that was there as well. That looked really good. That it really stood out. I think I can't remember the name of it.
Not Ooblets, that wasn't it? Was it? No, that's the the vegetable game. What am I thinking of? I can't remember. I think I know the one you mean, but I can't twig it. But no, I know the Warframe guys are going. They're going to be showing off a fair bit of the new content, which is kind of interesting, kind of exciting. Other than that, I've got no real thoughts about what we might see. I mean, obviously, I'm sure the pub people will there. The PUBG is going to show up. I'm sure we'll see some strategy games, some Total Wars maybe some more XCOMs that sort of thing tends to show up here. But generally, I'm going into this one pretty open-minded. I don't, even my twill, I wasn't sure what to say. What would I like to see from the PC gaming show? Maybe some sort of Dungeons and Dragons thing, an official tool to play D&D online, like Roll20 is. I'd enjoy that. Something real that wouldn't cost the earth. I'd be up for that, but yeah, James, any interest in the PC show? Are you kind of like me? Are you kind of warming up to it?
Definitely warming up to it, but yeah, not really sure. It's a bit of a difficult one because often they kind of have some pretty deep pulls as far as who they get onto the stage. It's not necessarily who you would think it is. Obviously, Valve aren't going to pitch up there because, yes, they're on PC, but they're their own thing. Same for Blizzard. They're a PC developer, but there's no way Diablo 4 or anything gets announced there. They just do it on their own terms. I figured Lords of the Fallen might fit best in the PC show. That's on my mess/leave it.
The PC gaming show, the Lords of the Fallen of trade shows.
I figured that makes most sense to kind of pitch up there because I can't imagine it making it onto the stage anywhere else.
Well, that's now a group of former Avalanche developers with a new company that are now developing sequel to Lords of the Fallen. Not saying that I'm interested in playing it, but that turns my head up more than
at least
just normally.
Suggests there could be some changes made. That kind
of.
See,
this is for me. Like this. See, the way we're sort of struggling and stumbling. Like this is how I get with, I suppose, Nintendo. In that I don't generally buy their stuff. It's I look at it from the outside. It's fine, but I don't have that level of nostalgia or that level of interest in a lot of the stuff. Like the Marios and Zeldas of the world don't do a lot for me. So I tend to watch Nintendo with this sort of air of detached, like, most of the time. I think a lot of people are going to be watching this with. But like I say, if you didn't watch it, like if anyone listening didn't watch it last year, like give it a go because it was all right.
Might be worth it. It's a little long and can be a little dry in places, but actually, if it improves similarly again, it may not actually be the worst show of the week, which would be a pretty quick.
I don't think it was the worst show of the week last time. It was EA, wasn't it? By a country mile was the worst show of the week.
A margin, yeah. So I did write down some other stuff that I don't necessarily expect on the PC show, but they kind of fit there, and I'd be taking a punt on where else they might be, which is Ken Levine has a studio called Ghost Story Games that are making something smaller than BioShock Infinite for Take-Two. That probably warrants a big boy press conference, and I don't necessarily think it'd be there, but obviously BioShock and its ilk stem from immersive sims that kind of were born on PC and still arguably have their home there. What else do I have down? System Shock. They were doing a remake of that kind of fell apart a little bit, and they're still trying to do something with it. And there's another BioShock-esque game set in Russia called Atomic Heart, which is probably too small, made by Mundfish Games, to appear on a console conference, but I could see it squeezing a spot on PC maybe. Other than that, it'd be like Cyberpunk 2077, because CD Projekt Red are PC predominantly, but they get a spot on a Microsoft or a Sony stage, like hands down. There's no way they don't.
I think that's Microsoft stage.
Yeah, I could definitely see.
Or both. I can see them getting a bit on there and a bit on there, and they go into more of the.
They want. If they want to be on the EA stage, EA will put them on there. But yeah,
I 2 seconds and I'll move on to football.
Microsoft seems a good shout for that. The only downside, I guess, would be that you think Cyberpunk 2077, from a Witcher point of view, might kind of compete against a Fable. Not really, because it's Cyberpunk now, but in terms of kind of big, in-depth RPG, if Microsoft want a Fable spot, which that's on my list for Microsoft, that could perhaps kind of...
I think it's different enough. I can see them both being on the same card and not being...
Yeah, if you're kind of ticking the boxes of racing game, shooter, action game, RPG...
I mean, look at Ubisoft, who show off an open world game where you climb towers and look at various missions that come up. They had like 6 in 1 year one time,
here's our driving game where you also do
Here's
those
the formula. Yeah, the Ubi formula. Like I don't think they've got anything to worry about. PCs. Well, you CJ, anything you care about on the PC show?
No.
Moving on.
apart from that Digital Extreme stuff, I'll be giddy for that. Xbox. So last year, I think it was a really good, busy presentation, papering over the crack of a lack of console exclusive releases. Sea of Thieves was divisive. State of Decay 2's received mixed reviews. Crackdown 3's still not out. So that's the elephant in the room, I guess. Do we see a date for Crackdown 3 for starters?
Yeah, I mean they've got to show something. It's long enough in the tooth that it needs to be out there now, isn't it? Like I see dates.
Thing is that original came to One X backwards compatibility earlier on this year, and it's still good. Yeah. It's still really, really good. And I'd take a new Crackdown on one anyway. I'm still looking forward to it, but it's a strange state of development. So it'll be interesting to see if they do mention it, and to what's changed, I guess.
If it wasn't for how much, I mean, because when they first announced Crackdown 3, it was all built around the cloud server, cloud computing stuff that Microsoft had going on that was going to make the multiplayer the best thing you've ever seen in your entire life. I don't know how much of that stays in now that that's not really a direction they're going with Xbox One. But if it wasn't for the fact they just released State of Decay 2 on Game Pass as an Xbox first party or like exclusive game, Crackdown would be a shoo-in for me for them saying, and it's out at the end of this week, or and it's out at the end of this show, or whatever. But that can't happen for two reasons. Obviously, State of Decay 2 has just come out, and last year's show didn't leave me in a position where I thought, oh, Crackdown 3 is coming along really well. It left me in a position of, I don't know where this game's going or even what this game really is anymore. And I don't know how much of that they've had to basically kind of rebuild from scratch again. It's another one that felt like we've seen it for so long. Is it even the same game anymore? But it has to come out this year, doesn't it?
It's a strange one with regards to that sort of mentality and Sumo, actually, because they're developing Dead Island 2, and we've not really heard a lot about that since it was reported that it was taken away from the other developer and that Sumo had taken it over. So that just boinged to mind at the. I wonder what the folks who did Dying Light are doing. That's just because that's the same company, isn't it? But I don't know. That's again that's just sprink to mind. I think so.
Yeah, that's it. That's right.
Deep Silver Publish, and it's Techland, and
because it's been a long time since Dead Island, and it'd be interested to see. Sorry, not Dead Island.
Dying Light's been a good couple of years, hasn't it?
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, and they've continued to support it. So I think they've built up a lot of goodwill with that, and it's a very underrated game. That we had a good laugh.
Yeah, will be interesting. But yeah, Crackdown has to come out this year.
The one sort of I wonder here is I'm wondering as to whether this year is where Microsoft announce VR with a kind of choose your own headset, and I wonder if they're going to lead with the it's that Halo Fireteam Raven arcade machine that Eugene Jarvis has been involved with. I mean, they've spoken before about Sony, Microsoft, and Valve all sharing their discoveries regarding VR and tech. So perhaps this is the point. Microsoft move, but is it too late though? Is anybody still asked?
I mean, I've heard second-hand information that VR sales have kind of slowed down quite a bit. They need something else, and I do kind of wonder whether Microsoft are just hanging fire for AR tech to get there. I don't know. I may as well say it now. One of my should I say it now? No, I'll save it for the Sony show. No, okay, all right. Okay. Here we go. My thing I would love is really mean-spirited for Sony. One of them that I've written down is absolutely no VR.
Is that your leave it?
It's the new Vita. That guy comes on with had his Vita in his back pocket, just with like a. You think it's a pair of headphones, but it's not. It's a VR headset.
Just a massive lump on the side of his jacket.
Because last year, and they're doing it again this year, Sony did kind of the pre-E3 run-up show, and last year they had like an hour's worth of show before their conference, and they actually got a load of stuff about PlayLink and some VR stuff out the way then.
I enjoyed that show, actually. I enjoyed that.
That was
like some of the smaller stuff that they didn't have time for on the big stage. Like that was fine. I really liked that.
But last year's show kind of made me think, hang on, PSVR has done really well, and yet Sony aren't going for it in the way that I would have expected them to. And if they weren't last year when PSVR was a stonking hit, why would they this year? There was a rush at the beginning of titles, and they were talking about how many titles were going to be released in the first 3 months or whatever, and hasn't followed through enough to prompt me to think about getting a VR headset.
They're gonna do what they always do, and I think the VR headset is one of the first big bits of plastic from Sony that I've not bought, mainly because I'm not allowed. But they're doing what they always do, which is release a cool, weird bit of hardware, have a good 4 months with it, and then forget it exists. The original PlayStation Eye camera that came with iToy Groove, that was good, and then nothing ever used it again. The Eye camera that came with the Eye of Judgment on PS3, that was really good, and they barely used it ever again. Move controllers, that lasted 6 months. The fucking Wonderbook, nobody bought Wonderbook. I have a Wonderbook. It cost me £1 from CEX. It was fine, but they did 3 games with it ever. Why would you invest?
PSP and PS Vita. They maybe made it more than 4 months, but they certainly didn't.
4 months, yeah. I mean, I love my Vita, but
for terribly long. So
they've forgotten that exists. But yeah, like they did. For me, VR's kind of that weird side thing of like, yeah, I kind of want it, but I don't need it. And I think a lot of people, you want to play VR, just go to Game. They've got VR headsets set up. You can just go and play with it. Like, why would you need to go and
15 minutes or whatever it is?
And that's the problem with VR, is that I do not think that it's worth a £200-300 investment at very least. You know, when you're getting the basic stuff like the Sony headset is, you know, if you're paying more for an Oculus for your PC, fine, you know, that's fine. But for the games to then be half an hour long, and you've paid £30 for a Batman game that makes you feel a bit ill, and then when you look in a mirror, you're Batman, but your hands are all squee and twee because you're small. So Batman just looks like he's really excited about some muffins. Like, woo! Like Wallace and Gromit, like, cheese, Gromit. Like, the hands like that. You've paid a lot of money like that for, firstly, a headset, and then £30 for a game that you're going to play for an hour, maybe, because it might be a short experience more than a game. You tend to get more experiences than games on VR, and I genuinely think you can't play it for more than an hour without feeling a little bit queasy, especially when there's a lot of moving involved. Like, why would you invest? I'd like to have a VR headset if I got one for free. Yeah, I'd enjoy that, but would I invest the money in? I'm pretty cheap with my money anyway. Like, with game stuff, I tend to wait until stuff goes a bit cheaper before I buy it. I don't buy a lot of things that come out as they come out unless I'm really, really up for it. So, I just... The stuff I've played... Our friend Pete came down. Lovely Peter Cleves. Brought his headset down to me for a day, and we sat and set it all up, and we played around. And that was a good day. I enjoyed that day. But when that day was finished, I was like, cool. Think I've done everything I need to with this for a while. Like, I don't need to play anymore. I've done the experiences. Why would you do the Shark experience again? Why would you do... I suppose you'd do the London Heist.
Virtually rinsed.
Hey?
Virtually rinsed.
Very good. Very good.
I'm not saying that with a pun towards James's main gig. I'm just saying, like, you just had your fussy, and then that was that.
We've done it, and we finished. I mean, we found time in the middle of the day to go out for pie. So, like... And we had, like, 8 games downloaded, and we banged through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fine, you know. A lot of these, new VR title coming out, 2 hours, like, come on. And I'm not going to get into the whole cost versus time metric, because that's bullshit. But when you spent £20 on a VR game and you're done in 2 hours, you've got to feel a bit shortchanged there, right?
Yeah.
My money's more valuable than that.
That said, I mean, like, when I was thinking about this and Oculus not doing particularly well, and maybe that being the lead headset that they show off, and leaning into this Halo Fireteam Raven arcade machine, which seems to be like a big sort of bright light gun experience, I was thinking, like, yeah, I can see that kind of working well and actually being sort of quite a big, important game that would sit nicely on VR. Like a decent experience, but also with a degree of gravitas. And I don't think there's been a tremendous amount of VR stuff that's had that kind of, oh my god.
Here's what they do. I know how they sell it.
I can tell your tone. This is going to be free.
No, this is great. They'll sell hundreds of these, right? So they announce a partnership with Oculus.
Hundreds?
Thousands, maybe.
Microsoft don't get out of bed for hundreds.
It's VR, come on. More than Scalebound. So they'll
that hurts.
announce a partnership with Oculus. All right, they'll say, right, we're doing a headset that's going to work with the X. It's optimized for the X. It's the Oculus One X. Let's call it that for the sake of argument, right? But they make the Oculus part, they make the headset part look a little bit like Master Chief's helmet.
Oh, that'd be really good.
Thank you. With the little visor hanging off the top. I think that sells it. I think they show that off and go, look what you can buy. And it comes with a copy of, I don't know, Halo 1 VR, and it will play a version of Halo in VR, sort of. I think they make money if they do that. I think that's dollars there.
You're a cheeky dreamer, but that's fun. I could at least see them doing it in kind of that Master Chief colour as like a limited edition, maybe.
Well, they call it like something like, I know they've got the Cortana assistant already, but they give it some sort of nod and a wink to that.
Right, moving on
I
then.
thought that was quite clever.
Yeah, it was well played.
I can leave
I'm
now.
There's a few things I would love on this, but there are rumours of a mystery RPG, and there's obviously leanings towards something else which have been kind of exposed recently. But I will use this quote which I heard on a podcast a few weeks ago, which was, "If Lost Odyssey 2 is shown, people will lose their minds." And I would like Lost Odyssey 2 more than anything in the universe. That first game was crazy special. Sold really, really well. And I'd love to see what they do with kind of a new game. It was just nobody knows what this RPG is. But God, Lost Odyssey was good. So
yeah,
could it be? I mean, you say mystery RPG. Could it? What else have they got? Could it be Fabula?
That's something else that's been done by an offshoot of Playground Games, who the folks that do Forza Horizon.
Oh, okay, cool. I got nothing on this.
But Lost Odyssey was just so special.
So Lost Odyssey came out of Microsoft's Xbox 360 kind of run at getting some Japanese developed games that kind of aimed towards getting them exposure in kind of that market where obviously Microsoft have never done particularly well. And that didn't really seem to work for them, but there's no denying the niche reputation that a Lost Odyssey has.
But it also sold like a huge amount of units at a point where the 360 was still kind of in its infancy.
Yes, yeah.
The game looked beautiful, so well written, and you know it's Sakaguchi-san and Uematsu just both doing stunning things together.
So, given it's kind of related, my tool is Scalebound didn't work out. Platinum were struggling by their own admission before Nier Automata hit and did well for them. Literally it was mentioned, you know, they were doing like Transformers and the Turtles game and the Korra game to keep themselves afloat. There was a real risk that before Nier Automata hit, they may not have made it as a company. That has kind of stabilised things. Obviously now Bayonetta 3's in the works. There's still kind of rumblings of a Wonderful 101 port or something similar.
There's that amazing Granblue Fantasy that's coming to PS4 as well, which looks super gorgeous.
Yeah.
I wonder, given the success of Nier Automata, whether Microsoft, because when Scalebound went away, Microsoft and Platinum were kind of keen to say there was no fault here, there's no animosity, it's just the game didn't work out, it wasn't where it needed to be. I wonder whether Microsoft could be tempted to go back to Platinum and say, you know what, let's do something now. Platinum have got, rightly in my opinion, I know others disagree, they've got a lot of cachet around them, even for having turned out, you know, the Korra game I played, it was, I didn't like it at all, but they've done some stellar stuff, and Nier Automata is in that, not directly in that, but it feels like a game that Microsoft would have courted in those early 360 days as a let's branch out and do something that Microsoft aren't known for. And obviously they could get a Nier Automata port, presuming that Square Enix are up for doing that, but I wonder if they couldn't tempt Platinum to try something else for them. I don't know, maybe not, but yeah.
there's a certain game with regards to a man who rockets about on his kind of roller skate legs and bottom shooting things, which might go down really, really well.
Oh, Warframe.
Platinum. More or less that is
Lol.
Warframe anyway. But yeah, and especially with that game having been on recently come to backwards compatibility and been on games with gold.
So the difficulty with that, Bayonetta ended up on Nintendo and it's funded by Nintendo now, but that was a Sega game. It was one of the games that Platinum were contracted to make for Sega. So there would need to be a negotiation there if Microsoft wanted to do it. But Nintendo...
That said, Microsoft have sat down with Sega recently, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so which makes me wonder if the likes of... We're going to see the Yakuza games coming to Xbox. And as to whether... Also, seems we're on the sort of Japanese dreams, because they also sat down with Capcom, and I wonder if we might see something like Dragon's Dogma 2, Dream. That would be nice.
Be cool.
Forza Horizon 4 allegedly is in Japan, which makes me crazy happy.
That would be cool.
Because Forza Horizon 3 was great, Forza Horizon 2 was great, but Forza Horizon 4 set in Japan is just... And they also do really good trailers for the Forza Horizon games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so I'm looking forward to seeing
3 did a good job of leaning into the kind of outback off-road aspect of being set in Australia. So absolutely set it in Japan where there is a known scene for racing. Lean into that side of it, absolutely. I mean...
Oh God,
it doesn't quite tickle my Burnout Paradise gland as much as I want it to, but it's about the only thing going that gets close to it.
I think there's something sort of quite unusual with the Forza Horizon games in the way that they mix music and a certain ambience of a level like incredibly well. Like the opening to Forza Horizon 2 was great with the kind of electronica soundtrack that was there, and the point where they just released you with the car was gorgeous. But there's something that really stuck in my mind with Forza Horizon 4 was there was a race quite early on which was set. You started off on a beach and you eventually sort of raced into the town, and the sun was setting, and they had a Churches song that was playing at the same time, and the feeling between the sun setting and this beautiful piece of electronica and the race, it took my breath away. I had tears in my eyes, and I'm like, this is racing game. Why are you hitting me this hard in the feels? And the perfection that was there was just glorious.
The other really cool thing they did, they allowed you to make your own events and choose the soundtrack and the car or not the car, but the route you were going. And the time of day as well. So
that's
there
cool.
were a couple of Churches songs on that soundtrack. I may have used them quite a few times to make my own routes that started and ended with the beginning and end of the track, and ended up one of them like looking out over a sunset just as it was setting, assuming you got there exactly right moment over the ocean.
On that level, I think I finished third, and like the first thing that I thought of afterwards was, I want to play that again. And it absolutely was not to finish second or first. It was because that was so good.
Yeah.
And it has to be said, even though there's this back and forth between the main sort of serious Forza games and Forza Horizon, like 1 year on, 1 year off, the quality level is astonishing. Like throughout all of them. I mean, the more serious side is not really my bag, but these are stunning. And also, Forza Horizon 3 sold really well, and I think that was the last real exclusive you could look at Microsoft's and just go, that's 10 out of 10 AAA ballpark. And the stuff that's come after that really hasn't been. So, gosh.
Yeah. My only hesitation is that I think they need to make sure. Forza Horizon 3 was great, but it did feel like, this is Forza Horizon 2 but in a different setting, and they did some good stuff with that, but I do just worry that, like, we're on Forza 7 came out last year, was it, I think? That feels like just a matter to say it's a matter of course it's not. Obviously there's a lot of work goes into it. They're fantastic games, not for me as I've said, and still received very well, but to me as someone from the outside looking in, there's a new Forza, it's Forza 7, fine. I don't want the Horizon games ever to end up feeling like that for me, as someone who absolutely adored 3.
But it's nice to see somebody actually doing an arcade racer at a time when, particularly
hard to come by.
In the earlier games, nobody been doing them, and also, whilst the more serious side isn't for me, you see how the Gran Turismo games seem to take about 1 million years to come out, and then just don't look as good as the Forza games anyway.
And it's really smart to have them turn about with 2 different styles of games that are going to cater to different audiences, but they're there if people want them, and it gives a full 2-year dev cycle to the 2 different teams. And they're 2 different studios, not 2 different teams within one studio as well. I think that makes a big difference. Yeah, no, absolutely. I expect to see that. So the other thing I've penciled down here, and I can explain why I've put it here, but it still doesn't feel necessarily like a great fit for Microsoft.
Is it a tool?
It's not a tool. No, it's but it's something that I just have a feeling. I don't know why. Mortal Kombat 11 is, if they are still on a 2-year release cycle with Injustice as the alternate, then Mortal Kombat 11 should by rights be ready to be announced, due to be released kind of spring next year. Street Fighter 5 is exclusive on consoles to Sony. Microsoft, I think, would be quite smart to get, if not console exclusivity, because they're not going to get that, at least make sure that Mortal Kombat gets some kind of exclusivity, has a marketing deal, whatever, with Microsoft. The kind of obvious thing that pushes back against that is Killer Instinct as Microsoft.
I was just going to say, it's got the same sort of aesthetic, isn't it? Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat is hands down the biggest fighting game, maybe outside of Smash, in terms of sales. Like Street Fighter 5, they made a big song and dance when it reached 2 million. Mortal Kombat games do 3-4 times that number. It's not even close.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even close.
But the last one, I mean, again, from watching True Talent's Twitch streams, the last one was apparently a really, really good game, whereas the new Injustice was apparently a bit zony. Just didn't
it took
quite
a while
do
to
it in
kind
the
of
same
get
regard.
balanced out. Yeah, but I put plenty of time into Injustice 2, and had, aside from Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and it was kind of on a par with Guilty Gear Xrd, the best backdrops I've ever seen in a fighting game. They are amazing. Completely different style to Arc System Works fighting games. But just the lighting, and it was one of the best games to show off HDR on my TV.
Really?
Yeah, just incredible lighting, incredible detail in the backgrounds. I don't particularly like the character design of NetherRealm artists, if you like. They're not quite for me. It's a bit grimdark DC for my tastes.
Facial animations were good though.
But yeah,
I always have been really impressed by them. Like they're like nuances in the faces. Like you can see them when they're kind of thinking and musing and stuff. And any of the sort of the intro clips I saw, they looked like they were full of life. They looked like people.
The weird thing was, like, I mean, as an old school DC Comics fan, I looked at the designs of the characters and stuff, and I was like, ugh, no, who's designed that? And you see them in the game, and on the one hand, they work in the game, but on the other, like, they've got so many variations that you could give the characters, and so many costumes, and so many tweaks, and you were constantly earning stuff, and you could go into the a different universe and kind of battle those different versions of characters. There was a lot there in that Injustice, but it seemed to suit the game as you were playing it, rather than just seeing the still screens. And also that opening was stunning.
And the story mode in general, no one else. I mean, Capcom made. I really love Street Fighter V. I do, and I actually think Marvel vs. Capcom is a great fighting game, but their attempts at a story mode, clearly aping what they've done with Mortal Kombat since 9 and Injustice 1 and 2, are nowhere near what NetherRealm are doing. Like, good transitions between fight and cutscene. There's narrative reasons for why people are fighting, rather than just two people pitching up and saying, "Oh, shall we fight then?" Which is
there's a tournament. Go.
Exactly, but they act, and obviously Mortal Kombat starts off as there is a tournament, but you understand why. And Injustice 2 took it to a new level, as far as I'm concerned, with kind of putting story together. So I think it flies in the face of Killer Instinct, but Microsoft haven't done that much with Killer Instinct, as far as I'm aware, recently. It's kind of tapered off a bit. If they could get Mortal Kombat on their stage and get some kind of tied association there, I think that would be a smart move, because it's gangbusters. And I'm someone who played the old school Mortal Kombats, but didn't particularly like 9, didn't play 10 at all, or X I should say, at all. I'd go for 11 based on my experience with Injustice and Injustice 2. I think that would be a smart move, and especially with the X, stick a CG trailer or cutscene up, showing off how good those games can look, and talk about how it's going to be the best place to play and the best looking version of that game on console. Yeah, it just makes sense.
We'll say, because sort of tying into that, Microsoft have a fairly good relationship with Warner Brothers for showing off their games on the stage. I think they had the Lord of the Ringsy sequel
Shadow of War
last year, didn't they? Yeah. I wonder, especially given Sony are going to be leaning heavily into Spider-Man, as to whether we might see the new Rocksteady sort of superhero game.
I was swithering about whether that would end up on Sony, because I think Arkham Knight ended up getting exclusive stuff with Sony, but you're right. Shadow of...
They've always done... I know the first one got Joker stuff, where...
Yeah.
I think they've always had more stuff on PlayStation, haven't they?
Yeah.
Possibly, yes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Shadow of War kind of lent into the... It was one of the big Xbox One X enhanced titles, wasn't it? They were kind of leaning into that stuff. I wonder as well, because I'd kind of thought, maybe that'll end up on Sony's stage. But you're right, that would seem an odd fit next to them clearly going to be pushing Spider-Man hard. And yeah, it could find a place here. There's still rumours it's a Superman game. There's rumours it's a Justice League game. There's rumours it's another Batman game as well.
But it's a Batman game. That's what I've heard as well.
But make it a Batman game and start pulling in non-Batman universe characters. I mean, Lego Batman still pulled in other characters. Why not?
I think the thing for me is, like, fill that city with people. There's no way on this generation you should be finding an excuse to rid Gotham City of its people. Show me a city where show me the city that Bruce Wayne and Batman love,
and show me what they're defending.
Show me how he deals with people that are fighting in apartments, or kids sort of threatening people outside of a late night garage, or show me the mundane stuff. which gives me an idea of the flavour and the people and the joy and the heartbreak and the deviousness, the dark underbelly of Gotham, and then show me why I care enough for it to be bothered when it's threatened. And don't give me a Batman that's a snarly, crappy, one note, doesn't care for the family that he's built up around him piece of shit. Give me a Batman that's as rounded as Conroy's. I'm
going to tip the hat to the Telltale game. I think if that's the kind of Batman you're looking for, I think you'd really like the Telltale game. I love it. Like I've got one episode to go on it, and it focuses more on Bruce than Batman. And when you are Batman, it's more like you're Bruce wearing a Batman suit a lot of the time. It's more the puzzle stuff, and he only puts on the scary voice when he's kind of dealing with police and criminals and stuff. But usually the scary voice is off, and he just talks normally. It's really good, and like if they can plug that stuff into a mainline runny, jumpy, climby, punch you game, brilliant.
I think
talk to the Telltale people.
That's the difficulty is we've got an example of a Batman story that's getting a lot of credit in games at the moment. Can Rocksteady
translate?
Do that?
Yeah.
I'm your man who likes Origins more than City and Night. Sorry, Oranges more than City and.
There is you and I who beat the drum for Origins like mahusively.
I like the atmosphere in Oranges, and it made me feel, even though there weren't people there to defend, it made me understand why Batman was fighting in a way that Asylum did and City and Night failed to do convincingly. There was stuff in Night I really liked. The psychological stuff of what was going on with Batman and what it means to be Batman was really cool, but too much of it felt devoid of a reason to be doing what Batman's doing throughout the entire game. And
the thing is, for me with Origins, it's like I've seen standard stock at night Gotham like a million times. Seeing Gotham consumed by a snowstorm at Christmas, seeing those neon lights reflecting on crisp white, the twisted sort of Christmas carols and the dun 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 dun. It drew me into that world, and that was a Gotham that I'd not seen before, and I like twists on the norm. Also, I will say about Origins, one of the best startups to a video game ever.
Yeah, it had a really clear and understandable structure to it as well, in that the whole story was built around a structure that made sense. It didn't. It obviously was as artificial as any story structure that's put into a game because it's written by someone to be a structure, but it made sense, and it felt like it came together in a holistic way, and there's stuff about City and Night that I really like, but there's especially Night. There's stuff that I get a bad taste in my mouth when I think about that game.
Here's the thing I would love.
Let's get a car and a roof.
Yeah,
that's what the people want.
Here's the thing I would love. I'd love to care about a Batman game again.
Yeah, yep.
Because those first, I really liked Asylum. I really liked City a lot as well.
Yeah, Asylum.
Loved Asylum's basically
Asylum's
perfect.
great.
I love that to pieces.
I agree.
It's like the BioShock if it was Batman. Like it's just together. It's one thing. And I loved City as well because I liked how it changed it. I watched Laura play Origins, and I was painting out, and I couldn't bother with Night. It just looked like more of the same. And again, game burnout. We spoke about this earlier with Assassin's Creed. Like kind of done that, and the car stuff didn't look great, and everything else like, I'm gonna find a Riddler trophy. Like do not have time anymore.
No,
I've got so much else to do now. Like, so I'd like one of my I guess a thing I would like is a Batman game that I'd give a shit about. I don't know if that fits in Microsoft or not. I don't know.
That's we're talking about it, so of course it does.
It's a lofty ask, but they made a big deal about Night being the end of the trilogy. Fine, that's done. Do find something different. If you're going back to Batman, do something different with it, absolutely, and find that character outside of. Exactly as you said, CJ. Find him a family. Find him something to fight for that has something to say in a world where Kratos maybe successfully for a lot of people, not for others, but was made into a character out of an embodiment of rage and almost nothing else. They gave that character, I played half of the game I got through before stopping, but they gave that character a heart, they gave him a purpose, they gave him they made him more interesting to me in that game this year. You have to be able to do something with Batman that isn't just punching people because they're there to punch, and shouting at everyone who is around him.
But I don't think I think God of War achieved that because it doesn't hard reset anything. Like, you're not playing a new you're not playing a new Kratos. It's the same guy, and it acknowledges the past, and it's there. It's stuff that he did, and it's stuff that happened, and stuff that has an impact on him. But it's stuff that's changed him in the present. And I think if Batman's going to evolve like that, I'd still want them to have that, gruff, I hate everyone stuff. But as he ages, does he mellow? Does he change? Like, what happens as he gets older? But, do we stick it somewhere in, like, if we knew a new Rocksteady game, do we set it in a similar sort of time frame as like Dark Knight Returns? Like, has Batman been away? Does Batman come back? Is he a different man now? Does he fight different? Well, Dark Knight Returns is one of my favourite Batman stories of all time. And while I wouldn't want to see them piecemeal do that as a Batman game, fuck yeah, I'd play something similar. So, like, hell yeah.
My question would be, would it be noticeable, let alone would it make any difference, whether it was connected to the Arkham trilogy or quadrilogy, as far as I'm concerned, or not? Because so much of those games were built on what we all know of Batman's history anyway, that if they explicitly told me this followed on from those games, or explicitly told me it didn't, it wouldn't make any difference. They'd still be relying on characters and allies and villains that I know, and a character that I know inherently anyway, if you see what I mean.
That's fair. No, I can see that.
So they could do a different Batman, and it would still seem a contrast to the Batman that was in Arkham Knight, even, or in the Arkham games, even if it wasn't connected directly at all.
I think, for me, I'd kind of want it to be a continuation. If they're going to keep the same engine and the same devs, like I can't stand endless reboots.
To wipe the
endless reboots, and not just call it Batman Arkham Asylum again, because fuck me. Batman.
Right, moving on to another iconic character. Firstly, I think that we'll see the first look at Halo Master Chief Collection in 4K, which apparently is this summer anyway, so that makes sense. I think they'll also announce it for PC with crossplay between the two versions. I think they'll add Halo Reach to it, which is the only one of those games that currently isn't connected to the Master Chief Collection. I also think we will get an early look at Halo 6. And I think that whilst Halo games normally launch towards the end of the year, I think it'd be a really good move for them to maybe launch in that same window that Monster Hunter launched last year, where there's nothing about. Halo 5 had an atrocious story, and to me did its best to dismantle the brilliant ending to Halo 4. I think Halo 6, one of the announcements that they'll make is that Joseph Staten, who's already back at Microsoft anyway, will have written it, and I think Martin McDonnell will be doing the score again, and I think the room will go bonkers.
So, I'm... unless you're going to tell me differently, I was taking Microsoft at their word that there would not be a new Halo at E3. I can't remember when it was said, but I'm sure they have said to not expect new Halo. I have got written down Halo Master Chief Collection X as being, it's going to get fully upgraded for Xbox One X, and I want Reach on there. Reach is probably my favourite Halo. Reach is great.
Reach was magnificent.
I'm a big fan of ODST. I'm a big fan of 3 and the first one absolutely as well. 4, my lasting memory of 4 is that button prompt at the end that's wrong, and doing that.
But that ending in itself is just so emotional and so huge, and I cried so much, and they did just everything to. The 5 was so badly
I didn't
written.
even play 5 based on how frustrated I was at the end of 4 with that button prompt being wrong.
The thing was with 5, they did a series of podcasts that were building up to it, and that were a little bit like a sort of serial, where it was like a journalist that was trying to uncover the secrets behind like the Master Chief, and you got all the government cover-ups, and this journalist sort of continually trying to get further and further into it. And these series of podcasts were absolutely exceptional. And then the game came out, and it was so badly written.
So that's the thing,
badly written.
I obviously saw the trailers leading up to it, and it had that notion of unreliable narrator style, kind of questioning whether the mythology around Master Chief is really justified and valid, and whether we've only ever seen it from one side and not, or I guess we've seen it from two. We've seen it from the Covenant side because we see their reaction to him, and we've seen it from Cortana's side essentially, or the UNSC side in terms of the High Command.
Well, you got the stuff that related to the books in a way, but also another spin on it that the government had always put on the fact that the people that had become Spartans were the biggest and the best of society, like the athletes, or you know, the up and coming sort of more grandiose members of society. Whereas the reality was that they were kidnapping children from their parents, often replacing them with a clone
that would then die.
That was designed to die. And then what happened when, you know, there were certain things in the books where Spartans returned home to find, or went AWOL to return home to find a version of them that didn't die, that was still around, and you know, these people being killed and things being covered up by the government. It was really good stuff, and also, you know, as a fan of the book, seeing Blue Team in there was a big deal. But for me, with a lot of the Spartan lore, I hate that seemingly anybody can become a Spartan now. I don't want to see ODSTs becoming Spartans. I don't want to see as many Spartans as there are. I want to see that flawed, painful, Weapon X, like breaking bones, abusing children, like this monstrosity to get this war machine right, was what made it terrifying and brilliant to read those novels and find out what those people had gone through, rather than just, you know, technology's fine now, anybody can do it.
So as I say, the only thing kind of holding me back from expecting Halo 6 is that Microsoft have said not to expect. That could be a bluff. It's right time to have a Halo 6. I suppose the only other thing is, can they have another Gears and a Halo 6 at the same show? Are they going to do that? I mean, they can, but
I've heard with both of those, with Halo and Gears, that there's a possibility that it's not mainline games, but it's spin-offs,
so like a Judgment 2 for
both
Gears,
of them,
and an equivalent of a Reach for Halo, I guess.
Yeah, or an ODST, which I'd be happy about, frankly. Yeah. There's rumours that the Coalition are working on New Perfect Dark, so I'm wondering if we're going to see sight of that there.
I think that is a gimme from Microsoft. I know they've been afraid to go back to Perfect Dark since Zero. They just let that one, and why would they go back? They had Halo doing well, they had Gears doing well, they were covered for shooters, they didn't need a Perfect Dark. I think there's a space to make a Perfect Dark that either hews very close to the original or goes in a kind of immersive sim type direction. I'd like to see something where they do throw in a bit more RPG elements. Sounds like a kind of catchy PR speak way of talking about it. But yeah, I'd go for that. That's a character and a story that I think they could get a lot out of, and I think people are more than ready and willing to forget Zero ever happened and move on.
Now, From Software do have a relationship with Microsoft. There was Ninja Blade and obviously the Otogi games on the original. I'm wondering if this is a stage where we actually finally see Armored Core. I was going to say,
yeah, and Microsoft have a history with mech games, and that might be a place they could go to get a mech game made for them by a company that's going to have a lot of cachet and not guaranteed success, but there's going to be a lot of people take notice if Microsoft nab themselves a From property. I can see that.
I think we'll see more backwards compatibility, 360 and original Xbox games.
I think that one of my notes I put down is I think they're going to say, right, today we're going to put another 50 titles on, boom, and then just like have a big reel. Everyone goes, oh my god, there's that one.
I think they're possibly holding back some of the original Xbox games. Like if the likes of Silent Hill and Burnout 2 and 3 are on there, great. If they really push the boat out, I mean, I'd love to see the likes of Otogi on there, especially in Otogi 2. If they really push the boat out and they go like, hey, we mentioned From Software and Armored Core. How about Metal Wolf Chaos? And everybody just goes like, boom. But there are also like some quite quirky stuff. Like I'm sure the Clock Tower, there were a couple of Clock Tower games on original Xbox, and really pull out those niche titles to make the fan bases go like, really? So yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Unless I'm mistaken, Splinter Cell HD didn't come to Xbox; it only went to PlayStation.
Oh, I don't know.
No idea.
They did.
Could that be the sweetener for pre-ordering the new one?
Yeah, I wonder if Microsoft can get the EAs and the Ubisofts with the likes of Burnout and Splinter Cell to use that as a kind of a sweetener for their upcoming, because I want to say they did HD versions of the original, of Pandora Tomorrow, Chaos Theory. I think that was the three they did. They did HD digital releases on PlayStation. I think they made it to Steam as well, but I don't think they came to Xbox 360. I think they were on PS3. And that would be an easy way to not have to release the HD versions, but they can release the Xbox discs and digital downloads.
I'll tell you what they could do, given that Far Cry 5, if somebody's bought the Season Pass, they've seemingly got Far Cry 3 Classic free, according to Eurogamer. Why not have that as a sweetener to go, well, new Splinter Cell, if you go for the Gold Edition with the Season Pass, you get all of these old games free. Because everybody's then going to buy the gold version.
And that will be something that Microsoft could have as an exclusive, because that's not going to be something they can do on PlayStation. Yeah, so 100%. that'll be an exclusive pre-order without it being content from the game stripped out for anyone. Which is a nice way to do it, I think, because I'm kind of sick of exclusive missions where you feel like you have to buy particular version on particular console. Yeah,
definitely.
I think we'll see the new version of the Elite controller will be shown on stage, which has been leaked a little while ago. I also think that they will highlight the absolutely stunning, and bless their hearts for doing it, accessibility controller.
Adaptive controllers.
That's the one.
Because that will lead into the new avatars, because the previous leaked stuff with the avatars has shown that it's now celebrating people with prosthetic limbs and wheelchairs and all that sort of stuff. That accessibility controller, whatever it's actually called, is just phenomenal. Like God bless them for doing it. I just think it's incredible. And watching the video. That
made
me not only tear up, but it made me appreciate my hobby and the fact that I get the chance to do it, and just the sheer amount of variation that they can put into that controller, and how long it must have taken to come up with, and the persistence to do it. Well, seriously, so
having
proud.
Worked with several charities who specifically deal with accessibility, not presuming that you know how to do this without taking the perspective of people who are going to be using the thing, who this is going to make such a difference for. So getting companies or charities like Special Effect involved, yeah, absolutely. They know what they're doing. They've done this stuff. They've made their own controllers. And get them involved, get their backing, get their experience. And yeah, there has to be some of that. And I half expect Sony to release some kind of an Elite controller equivalent on the basis of having seen not just Microsoft's Elite controller but the adaptive controller, and how much
they are, aren't they?
Having moddable controllers can make a big difference, and having reprogrammable buttons, remappable buttons.
They are doing that.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, they've got their own Elite, like I think Hori are doing it, but it's officially licensed one that's like 100 and something quid, and you can swap the analog sticks and stuff around, so you can have it in Xbox configuration, and it's got the paddles in the back, so that is actually coming.
Yeah, more stuff like that, and the Elite controller was a first step towards that. It's not how they marketed it, but it was a big thing to be able to remap all the buttons, to be able to use paddles where perhaps your thumb reach or the standard layout of a controller doesn't quite work for you. Just give people the ability to customize the way they play the game. Yeah, for sure. The adaptive controller seems like a massive step forward, especially if, as seems to be the case, Microsoft are saying, yeah, we're happy to let this be used on PC, let this be used on PlayStation, if Sony will get on board with that.
I think that'd be a big move to just say, we want everybody to be able to play the games that they want wherever they want. Yeah. We're not gonna keep this to Xbox and PC. If we've spoken with our friends at Sony, and we've both agreed that it would be a great way moving forward to allow anybody to be able to use this. Or they've shared the technology with Sony, or just something that doesn't sound like oh, we're letting them get involved. It's just like, we've both agreed that this would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be fantastic.
Just think about the Dark Souls challenge runs you can do with that thing. Good lord.
I'm hoping we see more of Ashen this year, because the previous trailers have been really sort of Dark Souls-like and really rather gorgeous. And I want to see more of that game.
Yes, absolutely with you there. And on a similar note, I'll throw in one of my extra special mentions, which is what's going on with Below.
Yep.
Oh God, yeah, that's one of those.
That was.
Where are you?
That was
games?
at PAX actually. That was at PAX.
Yeah.
So it's unplayable on the show floor.
Cappy took the game away, and James Bingo, they retooled a lot of that game, reworked it, and went away. But I want to say that game was shown at E3 2013, where it was the console reveal.
It's been a while.
It's been coming for years.
It's been a fucking while, man.
I'm thrilled that Cappy can take their time with it, and as with all indie developers, it should go without saying they get cut massive slack in terms of making sure they get the time they need to be able to get the game right, because they don't have the resources. Even with Microsoft's backing, they don't have the resources to be able to just put an extra 100 people like an Ubisoft do on a game if they need to. But they have to be getting close with that. And if it was at PAX, then let's be having a showcase for that, because I'm not the only one who's looking forward to that game. There's a lot of people looking forward to it. It looks special, and it's from Cappy, so they've got a track record as far as I'm concerned.
So we'll get a date, and we'll see more of Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Another that I've got a nice asterisk next to. That's possibly the Microsoft game I'm most looking forward to, I would say. Not even possibly, it is. Flat out is. Just I can see it not being till next year, I think. But yeah, I'm all kinds of excited for that.
I wonder if we'll see a little more of Ooblets here, which looked really good last year. But that's my lot, unless you've got anything else.
So in tandem with Ooblets, and I suppose Billow and Ori and the like, Microsoft had a nice showcase of some indie games last year. The Artful Escape was one that looked very cool. Yeah, I'd like to see more of that, more kind of, and it will come up again, Sony, more of artsy, creative, indie stuff that big publishers have the ability to kind of get behind and champion by getting their showcase. You know, the PlayStation conference where they had the stage filled with indie devs, so it was like 8 games on stage at once. That's great stuff. Just get those people out there. Let's see you back them. Yeah.
Thinking about last year as well, I think we'll probably see more of the new Metro.
Yes, that's it as well. Yeah, Metro Exodus.
Because that looked really good last year.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see some gameplay that was essentially target footage last year. But let's see more of that. And a Metro that spends a lot of its time out in the open, where actually the above ground's the safe bit and maybe the below ground's the dangerous bit. That'd be a cool inversion. That's up there on my list as well. Microsoft had it last year. Let's see why it wouldn't be on their stage again this year. And maybe some gameplay from 4A games would be cool.
Do you know what I'd like to see this year?
Go on.
I would like to see an indie game cut compilation thing where each game is on the screen for more than 6 seconds. Because, dear God, trying to write that lot down and pay attention to it at the time was just impossible. It's like, that was, what is that? And that's a strange font. What does that say? Fuck, it's over.
I think we all got through that together last year by the things that we'd found out afterwards and through rewatching videos and pausing them and going, that looks really
I've done a Google.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would love from Microsoft. Hi everyone, Paddy here. This is where we broke for the evening from our second part of our E3 preview shows. Join us next time for Sony and some feedback. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.